Okay, so this is a response video to some of the trolls and some of the other comments that people need a little bit of clarification on some things. They're still a little bit confused out there. I still hear a lot of people talking about value retention on watches. A lot of people making the point that Rolexes hold their value. So clearly these people don't get it, they don't understand. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit slower this time and a little bit more detail. And then other people asked about quality items in general and how I determine what's a quality item. And I'll go into that in some detail. Another person made a comment about my comment about public schools and said how great the public schools are. Man, I don't know what they're drinking or smoking. The public schools are a disaster in most of this country. Kids that graduate that have something on the ball, it's in spite of the public schools, not because of. There's a lot of drugs in those schools. The teachers have their hands tied as far as what they can do in the way of discipline. A lot of these kids, unfortunately, don't have a lot of discipline at home. And so they end up being trolls on the internet commenting on videos like this. And if you want to get a laugh, just go through the comments on any of my recent controversial videos, the Rolex bubble video, any of those controversial ones, and take a look at the comments, and you'll see these people are real victims of their education or lack thereof. And by the way, I went to public schools and I didn't learn anything in the public schools, and that was 40, 50 years ago, and they've gotten worse since then. Everything I've learned after I got out of school. I learned almost nothing in school. So there's that. And I didn't learn much after. I'm a slow learner, by the way, but I do pick up a few things here and there, and I'll try to share some of those things with you. Now, we get back to the value retention thing. And here's the point. Oh, by the way, I've got the Snowflake on right here. And you can see it does fit under the cuff, but it's a little bit snug. That's why I have the dress watch coming that's going to be even thinner and more trim than this, the 18 karat gold Grand Seiko dress watch that just arrived in New York on the tracking. It's coming from Japan. It just arrived in New York. I guess it's got to go through customs or whatever. We'll see what happens there. And I'll keep you posted. I'll be doing a video when I receive that. But on the value retention thing, we're back to watches as investments. The only reason why you would be concerned if a watch holds its value or not is if you're thinking about reselling that watch. Now, all of my comments that I make with regard to watches as investments, that they're poor investments, in fact, that they aren't really investments, they do not apply to dealers. If you're dealing in watches, if that's your thing, where you can buy watches inexpensively and flip them for a profit, I did that with vintage cars years ago. I did it for years. I made money buying and selling vintage cars that I stumbled across that were a really good buy. I could buy them, I could resell them and make some money. I was in the appraisal business, so I did stumble across cars. And by the way, that's where I got my eye for quality. I appraised cars for many years, antique and classic cars, and it was all about discerning what was quality and what was not, and looking close at certain details and evaluating. And so I guess you could say I became obsessed with quality. And then that extended on to my clothing, my wristwatches, the cars I drove, everything. I tried to get the highest quality for the money that I could get. And I experimented with different vehicles, and like I said, I drove Mercedes for a while until I realized that they were a disaster as far as servicing and things like that. So I've made my mistakes over the years, but I've slowly but surely figured out what really works and what you can get the most bang for the buck out of. Oh, I better set my, my timer here just so that I don't go over the allotted time that I want to spend on this. There we go. Okay. So, getting back to the value retention thing, here's the deal. if you're buying a watch, an expensive wristwatch, I would suggest that the main reason to do that is you want to look sharp. You want to have something of quality on your wrist. Even if people don't know what, for example, a Rolex is or what a Grand Seiko is, a lot of people can discern quality. They kind of get the feel that something is special there. Like they might not know that this is extremely high quality wool in this suit, but they can see the way it drapes. They can see the stitching. They can get the overall impression that something of high quality is going on here. When you watch President Trump in one of his rallies, look at the suits that he's wearing. I mean, you can tell they're expensive, custom-made, high-end fabrics. You can tell when he's wearing a top coat that it's cashmere and that it's high-end. You can tell. People can tell these things. Trust me, they can. So if you're buying an expensive watch, in my opinion, it should be thought of as a tool and part of your accessorizing. If you have an expensive money clip to carry your money in, you have an expensive wallet, you have high quality shoes or boots, you're wearing a high quality sport coat, a high quality shirt, people can see these things and sense these things. And if you're in an environment where that helps you with your business, which it did with me, then it's an advantage to you to dress in a certain way and carry yourself in a certain way. Now, you can do this efficiently without wasting a lot of money. Obviously, buying an expensive watch is an expense, but if you're making good income, again, I recommend spending about a week's wages on your watch. Then you can buy a high quality timepiece with a week's wages. Let's say you're making $5,000 a week or $10,000 a week, whatever you're making, you spend that on the watch. You're going to get a high quality watch, and that watch is going to serve you for many years and is going to be a part of this overall image that you're creating. You know, dress for success. It is not a lie. And the good news is the bar for being well dressed these days has been lowered so much. There's so many people that are totally clueless when it comes to how to dress. They're wearing hoodies, they just dress like slobs. Now again, if you're a billionaire, if you're Bill Gates, you can dress any way you want. Bill Gates isn't a good example. Mark Zuckerberg, you can wear hoodies, right? And it's fine, it doesn't matter. But if you're in business and you're trying to show people that you're serious about what you do and that you're successful, people want to deal with successful people. It's better that you dress a certain way, that you come across as somebody who dots the I's and crosses the T's. And nowadays, like I say, the bar has been lowered so much. And here's the thing, here's the secret. I mean, years ago, it was kind of hard to buy high-end clothing and things like that used. You had to go to the thrift stores, you had to dig through and really, get lucky and find something. But nowadays with the internet, it's so much easier. You can go, and I'm going to roll in, I've been rolling in clips of different labels and all for clothes so that you'll know the high-end stuff to look for. You can find high-end sport coats, even a suit, a top coat. You can find these things at a very good deal. They don't hold their value. I mean, clothing doesn't hold its value at all. And a lot of people are clueless. They don't know what they're looking for. And especially if you go to like a Goodwill or something like that, a lot of times they'll have all the sport coats together and they'll price them all the same. You can have a 100% cashmere, Oxford clothes sport coat that was like $3,500 new, and it'll be priced the same as some polyester thing from JCPenney. You'll see an H. Freeman Son's suit, and it'll be tagged the same price as, again, the JCPenney suit right next to it. That's polyester. So if you know the brands to look for, and you know how to examine them properly, you can get some high-end stuff and And if you buy a conservative styles, excuse me, I just bumped the mic. If you buy conservative styles, they're always in style. They don't go in and out of style. If you get a real conservative looking lapel, conservative cut, it's always cool. You can always wear it. It's going to look fine. And again, people can tell. They can sense if it's a really high quality fabric, if the cut and all is just right. I mean, people can sense these things. So, so we've touched on value retention. And again, people keep talking about their watches are investments. Here's the other thing that I find it's a shame, it's really sad, is if people are buying 4 or 5 of these steel Rolexes because they think that the value is going to keep going up and up and up and up, and they're not even using them, they're not even leveraging them. In other words, it doesn't help them in their daily life, in their business or whatever they're doing. It's just that they want these watches and they've got them in their room somewhere or in a safety deposit box, just sitting. That's kind of a shame if you think about it, because these watches were really made to be worn and used. And it's a shame, not just because of that, but it's financially a very bad move. And I've gone through on my investments video, go back and watch that. I ran through the numbers of how much these watches end up costing you. Let's say you buy $5,500 worth of watches a year instead of investing in a Roth IRA, how much these watches end up costing you, literally millions of dollars. So it's really a bad move financially. It's of really no benefit to you to have these watches just sitting around. It's almost like an addiction or a sickness or something. I don't know what's going on with all this stuff. But anyway, you might want to think about that situation if you're in that situation. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about is these steel sport watches. And I don't have a Rolex handy here, but I'll demonstrate with my Grand Seiko. They don't go good with a cuff like this. And I saw an anchor on the news the other day. I was watching a clip on YouTube. I don't get regular cable TV. I just watch stuff on YouTube. But anyway, and Netflix. But I'm going to go ahead and take this Snowflake off, and I'm going to put the diver on so you can see what I'm talking about. And what he had the watch was like this. It was literally pushing up over the cuff. I think you can see that. And it was actually just bending and wrinkling the cuff, something like that. And it just looked terrible. It really looked bad. These watches are great if these larger sport watches, including a Submariner, yes, you can put it under the cuff. You can barely fit it under the cuff. They don't fit that well under the cuff, depending on how tight your cuff is. But that's not really a good solution. Even if I go to the Snowflake, Snowflake is 12.5 millimeters tall. It's a 41 millimeter watch. Even if I go to this watch, if I get it under the shirt, which I can, it works. It'll go in and out, and I can, kind of read it. It works. But even this watch is a little bit too big for this type of use. Really, like for example, if you want to go Rolex, a 36 millimeter DATEJUST would be a good option. Just a regular Oyster Perpetual, 36 mil. I think some of the older ones were 34 mil, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the ideal size for a dress watch, believe it or not, is something like the GS I have coming, the Grand Seiko I have coming is 35 millimeters, and I think it's only about 10 millimeters thick, very thin. Again, I'll do a full review when I get that watch, but a Patek Philippe, something around a 35, 36 millimeter size and thin. That to me is an ideal dress watch size. They're making a lot of these watches way too big. When you get up to 40 millimeter or 41 millimeter and more than 12 millimeters thick, that's getting to the point where it really is not practical as a dress watch. Now, most of the time, I dress with my sleeves rolled up. If you've seen some of my videos that I've been in and so on, I'm usually got my sleeves rolled up. Even if I'm wearing one of my sport coats, a lot of the times I'll have my sleeves rolled up and they'll be just underneath the sport coat. It works. You can put the sport coat on fine with the sleeves rolled up. It works fine. I just personally feel more comfortable with my sleeves rolled up. I'm a photographer. I'm always moving my hands around and always doing stuff. And for me, it's more comfortable than having the shirt all the way down and buttoned like this. Now, there are times when you want to be more formal and you want to have your shirt all the way down and buttoned, and just like I am right now. Again, I mean, this is going to really depend on you and your situation, your work situation, and so on. If you are dressed, if you're a lawyer or an accountant or somebody where you're dressed like I am right now, you're going to want a watch that's more appropriate as a dress watch. You're not going to want one of these larger watches. And I've already gone through the ugly watch routine. I mean, I've got a video on that, and people, responded to that saying, "Oh, it's your opinion, it's subjective." No. Some watches are just ugly. Okay, and the examples I used in that video are clear examples of ugly watches. It's not debatable. Your opinion does not matter. If you think that one of those watches is attractive, you are wrong. It's simple as that. There are situations where people are delusional, where sometimes the crowd is going the wrong direction. Like right now, all these people buying steel Rolexes for more than $10,000. They're the crowd going the wrong direction. You can buy a day-date, a used day-date for $10,000 in pretty good shape. It's going to have a little stretch in the bracelet maybe, but pretty good serviceable shape. And that's 10 times the watch of any steel Rolex. And people say, "Oh, I don't want a gold Rolex, I want a steel Rolex." Well, that's because all the idiots are buying steel Rolexes right now. And they're idiots, paying $10,000 and up for a steel Rolex. Are you kidding me? If you have to have a steel Rolex, buy a 36 millimeter DATEJUST, an older one. Buy a Turnograph DATEJUST. You can get them for a deal. There's a bunch of steel Rolexes that you can get for a deal. Steve had one over at Little Treasury for $2,200 a DATEJUST that was in pretty good shape, $2,200. That's the kind of money you should be spending for a steel Rolex, not $10,000. $10,000 is gold Rolex territory, or gold something, a gold Omega, a solid gold Grand Seiko. Like the one I have coming, I paid the low threes for it, like around $3,200, something like that. You should be getting solid gold when you get up in those prices. "Oh, I don't like gold." Well, you're stupid. You're stupid. Because here's the thing. And these trolls, they make these comments. They contradict themselves constantly. They say, "I don't care what other people think. I buy the watch for me." And then in the next breath, they say, "I'm not going to buy a Grand Seiko because nobody knows what a Grand Seiko is. They just think it's a Seiko." You just contradicted yourself. How stupid is that comment? And look in the comments. I'm not making this stuff up. Look in my comments. They're there. The trolls are there. Look at the comments. And so here's the deal. We all care what other people think. Anybody that says other than that is just simply lying. Otherwise, everybody would just do stuff every which way. Everybody would dress like slobs. Everybody, of course, some people do. So I guess I'm contradicting myself. But anyway, people in general, people who do try to dress up and do try to project a professional image, they do care what they look like. That's why they buy high-end clothing. That's why they buy a high-end car. Because they do care the impression that people have of them. And these people with the watches that are just totally contradicting themselves, here's the deal. When you buy a steel Rolex, Most people out there in the world that see you and see your watch are not going to realize what it is. If they do realize what it is, they're not going to think it's a big deal. There's a lot of them out there, a lot of steel Rolexes. And the watch people are going to think, oh, well, he's got a steel Rolex. They're not going to think it's a big deal either. Nobody's going to think it's a big deal. But if you have an 18 karat gold Rolex Day-Date on your wrist, or a Patek, a solid gold, some kind of high-end solid gold watch on your wrist, anybody is going to see that and is going to think that's special. Even people that don't know watches can recognize 18 karat gold. And it's different than plated. You know, you get a plated watch, it doesn't look the same, trust me. I've worn 18 karat gold Rolexes for 40 years. And I know when the sun hits those puppies or lighting hits those puppies, you know it's 18 karat gold. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And it gets that patina after you've worn it for years that just gold just gets. And there's no substitute for that. So this steel Rolex craze that we're going through right now is just totally ludicrous. And people that are paying more than $10,000 for a sport Rolex are going to regret it, I think, in some years from now. That watch is not going to keep going up. It's not going to be $20,000 in 5 years. It's not going to happen. And by the way, investments should double every 7 years. So if you buy a watch for $10,000 today, in 7 years, it better be worth 20 grand or it's not a good investment, okay? And they're not good investments. So the solution that I've talked about in some of my other videos, buy a really high quality watch, the best watch you can for the dollars that you have to spend, and wear it. Wear it for many, many years. You buy a Grand Seiko today, you can buy them for anywhere from the high twos, maybe even the mid twos. I'm talking about in really good condition now. Maybe even $2,500 on eBay. If you're willing to get the 9F quartz, which is the best quartz watch in the world, it's a fantastic movement. You know, maybe around $2,000. You can get them for less. You can get them for $1,500, but they're not going to be something you'd want to wear probably. But around the $2,000 price and then on up, you can start getting some really high quality Grand Seiko watches. If you spend $5 grand, you can get the iconic Snowflake. It's a great all-around watch. Again, not really small enough to be a good dress watch. I've got a watch coming for that. So there are a lot of options there where you can buy a really high quality watch at a good price point. You're going to get a much better watch than a Rolex. The Grand Seiko it's not even debatable. It's a much better, much higher quality, better built watch than a Rolex. You're going to spend less money. Take the difference, the money you didn't spend by spending $10,000 on a steel Rolex, for gosh sakes. I can't even hardly say that, $10,000. Take the money you saved, let's say you spent 5 instead of 10. Take the 5,000 and invest it. You're going to be way ahead of the game. You're going to have a better watch, a better looking watch, a more comfortable watch on wrist, a more accurate watch. You're going to have something really special on your wrist. And you should be able to get a 2017 or newer with the new dial and everything. I just saw one for $3,100, the spring drive, the entry-level spring drive on eBay. He reduced the price by $200. I think it was down to $3,100. That's pretty sweet. That's a pretty sweet deal. So anyway, I've rambled on enough, and let me see how long I've talked here. I've set my little bezel here. Let's see here. Yeah, so I've been going on for more than 20 minutes probably, so that's enough. Hit the bell. Trolls, go ahead and get your troll comments in there. You're in the basement there, in your mom's basement. Go ahead and put your troll comments down there. And talk about how, you know, I'm dressed like it's from the 1940s and all this stuff. Go ahead and put all your troll comments in there. It'll help me with SEO and with view counts on this video. I'll make more money so that I can buy some expensive items. And we'll go from there. And you stay in the basement there, stay in your mom's basement. If you get a credit card and work your credit rating up to where you can spend $10,000 on a steel Rolex and charge it on your credit card, you can do that. Yeah, that'll be a mess, but you go ahead and do that. Anyway, click subscribe, click the bell. If you want more, just comment. Put comments in there. Ask for more. I had people actually ask me to do this video. They asked for more. Can you believe this? They actually watched the video and they asked for more. It's mind-boggling. This internet thing is absolutely mind-boggling, isn't it? Again, thanks for watching. If you watched this long, I don't know why you're still watching, but thanks for watching. Hit that bell. And comment on some of my other videos. That's how I actually make my money, is the other videos on my YouTube channel. Not these watch videos. They don't make much money. But the other videos, the ones I do for businesses, that's where I make the big bucks. Anyway, thanks for watching.
If you enjoy local content like this, please like, comment, and share this video. If you own a local business, please join us.